Gudis, man. Gudis. I remember a couple seasons ago. Whoa. And I just disappeared. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you. You're just, hey, listen.
Gudis got me too.
Yep, Brad's crying. He's emotional. He can't be on camera right now. The game didn't go his way, and he's running and hiding like Radko Gudas does every chance he gets. Right there, he is.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just do the Apple camera for now. But yeah, I remember a couple seasons ago, Coyotes played the Ducks back in the day of Louis Domingue, back in the day of Corey Perry, and Corey Perry ran into Louis Domingue, the current goaltender at the time, and was screaming at his face. God knows what he said. And the entire team broke down and just got slaughtered by the Ducks that night. And Louis Domingue's career just went completely south at that point. And while tonight wasn't that bad, Gudis is now one of my least favorite players, and that one stung a little bit. And there were some PTSD flashbacks of exactly why I hate the Anaheim Ducks just that much from that.
Yeah,
but
I think there's a couple key differences. I think that with Corey Perry, the entire team folded like a cheap suit. Louis Domingue's mind was turned into a pretzel, and he literally never recovered. In this game, however, they were chasing Gudis around and were happy to shit whip him if they could have caught him, but he was too busy worming away, right? So I did like the response. McBain did take that minor penalty. He would have been happy to rearrange his face. Gudis has been hiding from this kid for over a year. So to me, I don't see this as an embarrassing moment like that Corey Perry one. I honestly think the Corey Perry moment kind of defined that era of Coyotes of folding up like cheap suits, whereas this one has plenty of pushback, maybe a little too much pushback, right?
Yeah. And I think it's a good intersection of where this team is now compared to back in those days, if you will.
Yeah. Same result. They did lose, but Anaheim, as much as I hate them, they're a really talented team, and they'll take what you give them, and you got to be disciplined, and you got to be a little bit better defensively than that. Otherwise, if you give them time and space and opportunity, they're too talented not to take it.
Right. I think that's been a theme early on, is lack of discipline, and you can see that we have such a young team, and so there's going to be growing pains with that. But you do love to see McBain punch him square in the mouth, and then Gudis just kind of turn away like, "Oh, I got you," but like really, we all know he doesn't want to take on McBain, right? And then Doan, man, like when I heard that Doan was dusting up with him, I'm like, man, that is just it just warms you up, as a Coyotes fan my entire life. We got to see that a lot with Shane Doan manhandling, Dustin Brown and just really just setting the tone. And it's nice to see that Doan is making his impact, more than just scoring goals and being great on the forecheck. He's letting his team know like, hey, we're not gonna just be pushed around. So it was a disappointing game, but it was really fun. To your point, Brad, I really did enjoy it. It just you could tell that there was some serious fatigue amongst his team.
Yeah, they started out so hot, and it feels like they kind of burned out a little bit. It's been a long road trip as well. Speaking of Gudis and McBain punching him in the face, I would love it. Someone I think put it on our Discord earlier. I was talking about this clip or that incident last season where McBain literally just made Gudis his war bride. He turned his pocket inside out and made him hold it, and he renamed him Bridget. His name was Bridget Gudis, actually. He was his jailhouse bitch last season, and somebody did find a clip of it. It was the Anaheim broadcast, which was very funny because they were like And now Jack McBain's broken his stick out of frustration. That makes him look foolish. You have any idea how expensive those sticks are? Meanwhile, they're crying in the corner. So if anyone can locate that, I might have tweeted it. I don't remember. Please put the link in the chat, in the Discord, or tweet it out. We need to spread the word and get people remembering what occurred that night between Gudas and McBain. It was very, very funny.
Yeah.
Right, Matt?
Yeah, well,
absolutely chicken scratch. Yep.
Yeah. This is the late night clean hit. The not so clean hits post game show, by the way.
I kind of like that. We should.
We're getting some RA. I got a glass of wine going. But let's get into it. So let's break this down in three ways. I always love breaking things down in the good, the bad, and the ugly. And because we got two negatives there. The bad doesn't always have to be bad per se, but this time we may have a bad and an ugly and both negative connotations. Let's start with the good, because when that first goal happened, I was really worried. This was something where I've seen it before. That preseason game against the Ducks, if you remember, 2 weeks ago, feels like an eternity. Both teams had pretty much their full roster at that point. Both of these teams being so young means that there's a lot of guys on those preseason rosters that are playing to show the coach they deserve more time, to potentially maybe give that one last hurrah to maybe get more trust in the coach, to get a little extra time on ice, maybe some special team looks. So I don't think this is like the Penguins rolling out, 5 vets who have all scored over 1,000 points and won multiple awards, and it's the last preseason game and nobody cares. That game was a wake-up call to me because the Ducks came out really hot. They really handled Utah well, and this is a team that's been rebuilding since really the first top pick they had was that Zegras pick in 2018, or was that 2019? 2019. And they've had multiple top 3 picks now. A lot of these kids are starting to turn, and I kind of expected this team to look this way last year, and they didn't. Now they're getting some decent goaltending, at least some reliable goaltending. And after that first goal, I thought, oh, here we go. The team just traveled from New Jersey after a 3-game road trip in the East Coast, where they got 4 points out of the 3 games, took down the Rangers in overtime, took down the Islanders in overtime as well.
2 home openers, by the way. 2 home openers there. Yeah.
Had to play Monday afternoon and then get on a plane probably around 6 p.m. Eastern, fly all the way across country, probably landed at 12 a.m. Eastern, and then get to their hotel room by 1 a.m. Eastern, what their internal clocks are, wake up. I think they had yesterday off, but then had to go to the rink today and play a hockey game. That first goal could have been a snowball effect where they just couldn't get their legs into it. They lost Jersey, had to shuffle those defensive pairs around, and they held their own, took the lead at one point, and I thought overall extremely entertaining. They got dirty with it. They pushed back. They didn't let people push them around. Everything in there besides that overtime Carlson goal was kind of in the good as far as the game goes, and the entertainment value and everything else.
You know who I feel bad about with all that travel that you just described? It sounds harrowing, right? And I feel bad for our boy Matty McConnell, right? Our boy Matty McConnell, who was on our show. That's poor guy. They're running him ragged, but he was sharp on the call tonight. So everybody go back and watch our Matt McConnell episode. It was awesome.
Yes.
But yeah, seriously, I think when you talk about there's plenty of good, bad, and ugly, right? I think from an individual performance perspective too, even, I don't know if we want to get into that yet or if you wanted to break down the game as a whole, but I don't know. What do you guys think was who are some players that stood out for you? I think for me, Alex Kerfoot was kind of the big standout for me tonight. I don't know what you guys think.
It's funny. I was watching with my 5-year-old, and he asked me who number 15 was, and I was like, yeah, man, he's looking really good. Kerfoot, you kind of know what to expect from him. He's just he's a hustler, and he's gonna give you everything he can. I mean, he's made some nasty passes so far this year. I mean, he's got some serious high offensive upside. But he's a reliable player. He's a perfect third line player, on a deep team fourth line player, but he can just kind of play up and down the lineup. I also thought that Kesselring looked really good. Kesselring needs to step up right now, especially with all the injuries that we have on the right side. And I think that Kesselring, being a younger player, I don't want to say younger because I think he's 27, 26 maybe, I don't know. But he's still inexperienced, doesn't have a lot of NHL games under his belt, but he looked like he carried the load and took on the challenge and said, hey, you know what, guys, it's I know we're a little banged up right now, but you can trust me. And so I saw that a lot with Kesselring. I mean, McBain looks awesome.
Yes.
Where did this come from? I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't look awesome before, but he just looks like his game has taken the next step, and I love to see it. I'm here for it.
I'm jealous of McBain's swagger. Like, he's not intimidated by anybody. He gets to just kind of swagger around out there. Plays like an axe murderer. I love it. There's nothing anybody can say to him or do to him. His will be imposed. And I think it's the perfect thing to go along with Cooley and Gunther. I'm so pumped that line's playing together. I kind of halfway joking in the McBain spotlight I did, like the preseason grade where I graded his last season. I thought, maybe the off-ice chemistry could come into play. Maybe he would be a good fit for that Cooley and Gunther line. I didn't really think it was going to happen, but I wrote a little bit about that, and it came to fruition, and I'm so glad to see that it did, because having a line like that's not even really kind of necessarily your top line is pretty amazing.
Right.
I agree. And what's really nice here is I think we all kind of want Krause there, but at that point, think of what the bottom six looks like if Krause is playing on a line with Cooley and Gunther. I mean, it's Michelli with Bukestad when healthy or down, and then Carconi, and then you're talking about a fourth line with maybe McBain down there, and then regardless, it's really nice that we have the luxury to have two lines with kind of a big bruising winger who can do all the dirty work and intimidate the opponent, get the puck out of the dirty areas to the high skilled guys, and just kind of create lanes and space for everybody. I thought McBain looked great. I'm really enjoying him on wing.
Yes.
I think it works a lot better. It seemed like when he was playing center, it was just a little tricky for him to get the offensive side of the game right while still being responsible. And now we're kind of seeing him have that luxury of getting to hover around the ice a little bit more, kind of play his game in a way where he can still dish it out and actually make plays rather than having to be worried about if he's going to be able to catch up with the opposition if there's a breakout. Side note real quick, 3-putt, thank you again, posted Kesselring is only 24. I was kind of in agreement. I was thinking 20, but
no fact checking after clean hits after dark, no fact checking. Right?
Get out of here with your logic, 3-putt. I'm just kidding. No, thank you for that.
So if I told you, Brad, if I told you that we'd be 5 games in, Nick Bukestad wouldn't have played at all because he's injured, and Jack McBain would have played the entirety of these games on the wing, and we wouldn't really be missing Bukestad at center. Like, it's crazy, and I think that's in large part because our boy Barrett Hayton has stepped up so much. It's been such a huge key. Yeah,
I was going to say, if you told me that, I would say Barrett Hayton must have 4 goals in his first 5 games.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that is a player I wanted to highlight too. So you're reading my mind.
Yep.
He is continually he's staying hot. I mean, this is kind of what we saw at the end of the 22-23 season, where he was pretty much a point per game player near the last fourth of that season. And holy cow, watch out. I think the one thing I would like to see offensively from him, and not to say that all the play in front of the net's not bad and that he can't make a career out of it, but that I'd like to see him take that big shot of his a little bit more that we saw in the World Juniors, that we've seen back when he was playing for Sault Ste. Marie. It seems like he's almost kind of starting to pigeonhole himself as that net front guy. And granted, he's playing with Schmaltz and Keller, so why not? But I hope he starts to kind of develop a little bit more creativity with it. But if this is what we're getting and we're going to get a 20-point or 20-goal Barrett Hayton because he's banging the goaltender and knocking rebounds in, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. I love ugly goals though, man. I tell the kids on my youth teams, I say ugly goals count double. Yeah, coach loves ugly goals. I like the ugly ones, you know. They don't ask how, they ask how many, right? So I like to see the grimy, greasy ones myself, especially on a team that's featuring like Clayton Keller's our captain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's like razzle dazzle, so much elite skill that, you know, being able to kind of pepper in these Jack McBains and Barrett Haytons and Lawson Krauses on each line, I think is great for the team identity and makes a little bit of space for the high skill players to operate until such time as Daniel Boot comes and does all of it on his own and provides every bit of it. Yeah.
One goal, 3-point game by Daniel Boot in the KHL today. Just ridiculous.
Yeah, we're all Boot guys on this podcast. No, I think that the Barrett Hayton, and I know this might be putting the cart in front of the horse a little bit, but he reminds me so much of a playoff player.
Yes,
especially this year. And to Trent's point, he's a perfect complementary piece to skilled wingers. And yes, he does. It is kind of cool to know that he does have that secret weapon with a laser of a shot. But whatever he's doing right now, don't change anything. Barrett, if you're watching this, because I know you are, after a loss, you know you got to jump on and watch the Clean Hits live. But don't change anything. Just crash the net. You know, I think it was Nash that brought it up. I forgot who was talking about it during the intermission. That out of 30 of Barrett Hayton's career goals, 25 of them have been scored within 20 feet of the net.
Love it.
Which I kind of find that's a brilliant stat, right? And so he's proving now he can be a natural center and someone that can crash the net and, you know, score those ugly goals. And that's what you need in the playoffs is, you know, there's a lot of cute hockey that happens during the regular season, but in the playoffs, it's score by any means necessary. Connor Garland style, score with your face, you know, like that's the kind of player that you need in the playoffs. And I love what I'm seeing out of Barrett Hayton. I gotta say I'm a little shocked, but we did talk about it early on, I think in a couple different podcasts, that if this team is to succeed with this young core, Barrett Hayton is arguably one of the most important pieces that needs to turn the page as a young center. And man, I mean, he looks insane. He looks great. So hope it.
Thomas Holmstrom 2.0.
And you know, he's a great compliment for those skill players, right? Like you said, but you know, it's not a good compliment is safety orange and gold. That is the most ugly color combination I can imagine. The Ducks look like trash. They are trash. They have a trash captain. They have the captain they deserve for a garbage team like that. So they deserve everything they've got with Gudis and Zegras, and I hope they lose the rest of their games this season and the lottery. So,
but let's highlight one more good moment from Caden, fan of the podcast, fan of the account. Hey, Caden, it's always great seeing you show up. Yes, killing off that 5-on-3. The penalty kill is still been just ridiculous. and then to score right after it was something else. But you're giving me this layup, Caden. It goes right into the bad. The penalties are just sinking this team.
Yep.
I mean, it's crazy that I watch these games and I go, man, Ingram is a very good goaltender. I'm so glad we have Connor Ingram to take over games and outright win them for us. And then I look at the score, I'm like, oh gosh, it was 5-4. you know? And I think a lot of that is just the amount of time we're killing penalties and key guys getting worn out because of that. And in the end, just too many prime opportunities because of power play time, and eventually some of these greasy goals are going to get by him. I'm a little concerned about being able to cut back on penalties because this is not something this team has done well in the past couple seasons now. And then on top of it, with Jersey out, it makes me a little worried that guys like Kesselring and Valimaki and Koliachonok are going to be playing more minutes than they're necessarily ready for, which the team ran into issues with last year. I think Kesselring had 22 minutes tonight, which I actually thought he looked pretty solid the entire time and brought a lot of that offensive oomph that we needed that was lacking without Jersey. But how long can this last?
It's not sustainable. And to your point with Ingram has looked great. But I don't know how many times he did a full-on split save or tried to. Like there was a Ducks, I think it was Killorn that almost had a wide open net. It just hopped over his stick. But Ingram is like sprawling out. We cannot continue to put our number one goalie in that position because goalies are often hurt when they're having to do these acrobatic saves due to lapses in the defensive zone or just a weak, soft turnover in the neutral zone.
Yeah.
These 2-on-1s, these odd man rushes. I know that we're a young team that we're going to have some growing pains, but this is something that has to be addressed. And I don't know if it's just because it's early on and there was a decent amount of roster turnover. And obviously there's injuries, but this is something that if you are going to make the playoffs, Ingram is a massive part of that. And we just can't continue to put him at risk like we have. And, like you said, it all starts with discipline, being more disciplined. Stop putting yourself in a position where you're down a man and Ingram's up there. I pulled my groin just watching him play tonight. It's just it's tough. It's a tough look, but hoping that they dial it in. And I think Bear is a good enough coach that he can instill that and put the fear of God into these guys.
And it's kind of a snowball effect too, right? Like you've got penalties, which are leading to too many chances against on the PK, of course. But honestly, I think a lot of the poor defensive play is what's leading to a lot of penalties. You usually take penalties in the defensive zone against established possession. And when you're failing to clear the puck, when you're failing to maintain good defensive positioning, you're scrambling, you're hooking, you're holding, you're tripping to make up for the fact that you're not where you're supposed to be and you're not putting the puck where it's supposed to be. I've seen, especially with these injuries, some players who are a little bit flat-footed, a little bit slower defensively. And I saw tonight, I talked about it earlier on today's taped podcast that's going to come out tomorrow, some of Juuso Valimaki's struggles earlier on the season. He cleaned up a little bit on the road trip, I think. They reared their ugly head tonight. I saw him really fail to take care of his corners several times, fail to get the puck out of the zone after he'd gotten possession of it. I saw him go on wild goose chases, chasing dudes way far into the corner and leaving the front of the net wide open, failing to gap up on guys and step up, letting the puck get behind him, and then coming back to the net very slowly on that tying goal in the third on the Ducks. I'm seeing some scrambly play, some slow-footedness, and some poor decision-making from the defensemen. And I think that's making these games very exciting. But I think it's also leading to a lot of penalties, and it's starting to lead to losses.
Yeah. And I mean, they took the lead, gave it up, and then lost in overtime. This wasn't exactly. It's really easy to kind of come out of this game and be like, "Wow, that was so exciting. We got a lot of goals. Some of our top players are still producing. This is great." But there's a lot to just kind of sit back and go, that was theirs for a moment there.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think, if you have John Marino, if you have Sean Jersey, you're going to see a little bit less of that. But injuries happen to every team, and you have to learn how to persevere. It's next man up. Michael Kesselring did a hell of a job playing.
Yes, he did.
Way above his weight class in terms of minutes played and having to play a little bit of a different role. And that's what we need to see is the next man up step into the role and take care of business. And we're just not seeing that across the defense.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of what is the expectation when Kolyachonok's down there? Kesselring is probably honestly, at this point, 5 games in, as far as best surprise, he may be it this season. I think we all had expectations for Gunther, and he's meeting those. I think we all had expectations for Sergachev, and I've been thrilled with what he's bringing. There's a lot of stability in the blue line because of it. His two-way play has been fantastic. There's expectations from Stenlund that has been met. Kesselring is one of those guys that's like, we will see if he sticks around or not, in the back of my mind, at least. And right now, I think he is arguably maybe the 3rd best defenseman on the team.
I think over the small sample size he has been. Yeah, I think he's been better than Valimaki for sure, I think.
It's better. I think he's been better than Cole.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
By and large, I think Cole had a couple of real strong games and a couple of real rough ones. And Kesselring's been a little bit more consistent. I think, Cole's been put in tough situations. That's his job. He gets a lot of defensive zone starts. He gets a lot of tough matchups. So he's got a tough job. But the discipline piece, to Caden's point, has been an issue for Cole as well.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about Cole this early on. He's a wily vet. I mean, he basically lives. He's made his career in the playoffs. I think he is on a younger team. He's an older guy. And to Trent's point, he is put out there in some of the spots that the coach would say, "Hey, I'd rather you be out there than a Kesselring in this instance, or a Valimaki. Go shoulder it." So I'm not entirely too worried about Cole. I do think he has had some stronger games. But it is something, and I didn't get a chance to ask you guys. Did we talk about potential fill-ins on today's recorded episode in regards to?
That's what we mostly talked about that. Yeah.
Coming out tomorrow. Make sure you are subscribed to the Clean Hits YouTube, which is Clean Hits Hockey, or give us a follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whichever one you prefer, because we will be dropping that new podcast episode, which we primarily talk about Sean Jersey's injury and some options, some interesting, some kind of boring, some really, really enticing options that we'll need to start tracking and kind of keeping your eyes out, eyes and ears about. And one of them that I think we should maybe highlight tonight is out in Toronto.
Liljegren?
Exactly. Yep. Apparently 14 scouts at the game tonight. Apparently he was put into the roster after being healthy scratched after a win too, which is very rare to change up the roster after a win.
Were we one of the scouts? Do we know?
Corey, our Toronto friend and one of the contributors on the podcast, will be looking into it. So
okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's it. I didn't mean to derail it a little bit, but I do think that at this point, with so many men down, and Trent mentioned it, injuries happen to every team. This is by no means an excuse. It's the next man up mentality.
Yeah.
But going into this, we were already pretty thin on our depth on our blue line, especially the right side. That's something that we talked about early on in the summer is, areas of need for this organization is depth in the pipeline and on the roster for right-handed shot defensemen. So it is something that I'd be curious to see. I would not be surprised, actually. I would almost bet on it. Listen to me, I'm Brad now. That we are going to be bringing in somebody either off of waivers, which right now there's just not a ton of intriguing names on the waiver wire, or capitalizing on one of those interesting players that you mentioned. I think I have an idea, but I'm not going to mention all the names.
Yeah, you
here
gotta listen to the
kinda-
episode.
yeah, I gotta listen to the episode. For those who
You
don't
gotta
know,
subscribe. Gotta listen to
yeah,
the episode.
yeah.
Gotta buy a
For those
shirt.
who do not, yeah, right. For those who do not know, I was not on there today, so don't worry, you're not missing much. But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, and overall, I mean, if we're breaking down a loss, and so we will focus more on the negatives of this game, but there was a lot stacked up against this team tonight after a long road trip. I think we got
it's
5
still part of the
points
road trip, really.
Yeah, exactly. 5 points out of the possible 8, right? So it is a positive, and it is going to sound like we're beating up on these guys, but we're just identifying things early on that can be addressed and will be addressed, and hoping that we don't lose any more healthy, able-bodied men in the process. So but overall, super fun game. I was pumped to be able to watch it in its entirety, especially with my 5-year-old. And there's just a lot to take. A lot to take out of this. That is the positives and the continued growth of our youngsters and early on success. I mean, we've played a lot of hockey. We've gone to overtime quite a bit. So these guys are tired, but they're still pushing through.
Yeah. Also want to comment the kind of vintage Shane Down performance of Josh Down tonight was really, really cool to see.
I thought him and Kerfoot played really well together. I was pumped to see that pairing up there. They looked great. Like the ceaseless motor on both of them, I think, was really good, especially in the defensive zone. I thought that they looked great together. And speaking of forwards and defensive ability, I thought that Logan Cooley's defensive positioning this season has gotten a lot better. He's getting his stick in lanes better, blocking, knocking down passes, getting in the way, shot blocking. All of that's gotten a lot better for Logan Cooley this season, I thought.
Yeah, that sequence near the end of the game where he blocks a shot, strips a puck, drives it all the way to the other side of the ice. And I think, if I remember correctly, he may have made some killer dart to Gunther, who shot it kind of wide. But, man, that kid is it's weird to say, but I kind of feel like his overall play is very underrated. I mean, this is his sophomore season. 5. Did he get a point tonight? If so, he would be at 6 points. Still goalless, so that may be something to look at for betting purposes pretty soon. But yeah, I thought there was, again, lots to be happy about here, despite the loss. Getting a point tonight's big, especially with the way this game started. I think I am slightly concerned of how this blue line is going to hold up in the next course of however long until Marino comes back. I am going to be feeling a lot more confident than maybe some of the statements we made on the recorded podcast that will be released tomorrow, just because of how well Kesselring has played tonight. And if he can continue this, I mean, he's starting to look like he has the ability to be a top 4 guy on this team if he can hold up these types of minutes and play solid 2A and be a difference maker on the offensive end. It's pretty exciting to think of another behemoth on that back end being able to support this team.
Yeah.
I saw
And,
that.
you know,
he's here.
I saw the
He's
latest
here.
comment.
It's been following me all
So,
day. All day. Jeez.
And now that he's here, I'll say this, right? I've said a lot of very unkind things about the Ducks.
Yeah.
AP, I don't recommend that you watch this. I really went to town on your pathetic team. That sucks. But I have one thing to say about them that I was really happy to see. Silver lining for me in this was Robbie Fabry back in the league, healthy, scoring a goal. Huge Robbie Fabry fan over here. Big fan of his when he was with the Guelph Storm. Wish that guy the best. He's a good player. He's too good for the Ducks.
BA
They
pick,
don't
right?
deserve him. The Ducks don't deserve to have a player like that on their team because they are trash. And he's a saint. So AP, you better appreciate him and really just him and pretty much nothing else about your team.
Yeah.
Minchikov looks like a pretty great player too. I'm gonna have to
true.
tip my hat there, and I do like Leo Carlson quite a bit as well. But I do want to mention something as well on the Ducks side. Maybe part of our ugly component here is Cutter Gauthier getting benched wrecked this beautiful same game parlay here that I posted in the Parlay Science Discord with Keller 3 shots, check. Gunther 3 shots, check. Troy Terry point, check. Sergachev point, check. Clayton Keller, check. Cutter ends with 2 shots because he got benched. And that killed my plus 1,700 little parlay that I had cooked up.
Damn it.
Well, the Ducks are so good at hiring coaches like Greg Cronin.
They really are.
I knew we were going
and Dallas Eakins, right? It's perfect. Just the guys you want to bring these young players along. Really smart management there. Yeah.
Just the guys to get you another top 3 pick.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, fair enough. Yeah.
One last thing. Go ahead, Kenny.
No, I didn't want to throw it off, but I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't, mention the goal in overtime. Nick Schmaltz is going to take a lot of heat for that. And rightfully so. It looked pretty embarrassing. I'm not going to lie, but I mean, you got to pay attention to what happened prior. He was pretty gassed. And he had a good game. He had an overall. He did. He did. Assists, and to get 5.
He was getting inside. Had a good motor. Yeah. The correct Nick Schmaltz body language was there. He was getting inside, skating in straight lines. Yeah, he played well. And then of course, at the end, it was like
he got caught flat-footed, man. It was a top look.
Yeah.
I knew it. I saw it coming 10 seconds prior. I'm like, oh, this is not good. But he was at the end of his shift, and so we've talked a lot about Schmaltz on this podcast, but you're not going to hear any complaints from me about Nick Schmaltz tonight.
No,
and
solid 5 games, to be honest.
Yeah, it is encouraging what we have seen from him in the beginning, because he is one of those players that you don't know what you're going to get on a night-to-night basis. I think Corey will tell you that better than anybody, but. Overall, don't be so hard on Schmaltzy. That was a tough look.
Sure.
There was a reason for it.
Yep. And we just released Schmaltz's report card from last season on cleanhitshockey.com, where you can find all of our written work. Of course, subscribing to our blog helps a long way to just kind of help keep everything going and showing us your support. And then obviously we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram at Clean Hits Hockey, we're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts at Clean Hits Hockey. So you can always catch all of our shows after the fact if you missed the streams, or if you want to just catch some of the recorded episodes. If you're new to the show, we've had some fantastic guests like Frank Saravelli on it. Cole Baudouin, one of the first round picks of the Utah Hockey Club, Matt McConnell, play-by-play announcer, and I'm just drawing a blank right now.
Igor
Walchuk,
trying to
Utah legends. Yeah.
Yes. So
Igor
yeah, definitely
Sokolov,
check
we had a great one with
Igor
him.
Sokolov. Yeah. So check out some of those old episodes. We'll have new guests coming up as well. Give us a like and subscribe. That also helps us keep all the lights on and getting to the late night, not so clean hits post games as well. And we probably are going to have some exciting post game shows coming up in the near future. Guys, anything else we feel like we need? Oh, you know what? I've kind of popped it on screen a couple times now. This was not good. Bertuzzo apparently got stepped on by his skate. Made it sound like maybe on his calf, left the game early. And when we start to talk about kind of the lack of depth on the right side, well, this was the guy who got brought in to kind of be that depth. Again, there's a lot of things pointing towards maybe an early hockey trade or hockey move by the Utah Hockey Club. So make sure to check out our episode about Sean Durzee's injury coming out tomorrow. One other one from our friend Flo from Down Under. Do we anticipate Michelli getting off the fourth line? Because, yeah, he's been kind of hanging out down in the pits with Liam O'Brien and Stenlin. And honestly, I think he's looked fairly decent tonight. I felt like was
especially
his
tonight.
Yeah. And he's still getting that good moments on the power play too. He had that nice, beautiful assist to Krause against, was that the Rangers game or the Islanders game? I forget, one of those two. But
I thought he was getting the puck to dangerous areas on a regular basis there. He was getting it there. And Carcone, God love him, he was in front with like good looks at a net front type goal 3 different times I counted, and he ended up just dumped on his ass and 4 feet away because he's just not a big guy, but he plays a big man's game. So I thought, if Michael Carcone was 2 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier, he might have had 2 goals tonight. Michelli might have had 2 apples, and it would have been a different result. But it's a game of inches, they say, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Give it time. It's still early yet. This roster is shaking up with injuries and whatnot. I do think that Michelli, I mean, he's too good of a player to be receiving fourth line minutes, and it's clear that they do have a bigger plan for him. Just having him out on the power play, you don't usually see fourth line guys out on the power play, so. It's gonna come. It's just early, and there's been early success. So if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And you're gonna see that a lot in hockey. Very superstitious coaches that are, not gonna shake up too much that's working. So, and overall, it's been working. Can I just point out my favorite comment so far? The Winnipeg Coyote Club is one of my favorite things I've ever heard.
There we go.
I love that team name there. So what's up, Demetrio? Thanks for stopping in. I might need to get myself a new neon sign of the Winnipeg.
Yeah, you didn't even plug it in, Kenny. Jeez.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, it was messing with the lighting in here. So
that late night lighting.
Yeah. So
and 3-putt. That is a great idea to get Bell or Brogan or Bagley on the show. We've actually had Brogan on the show once. We've had Bagley on the show twice. So go back and check out those episodes. We definitely are going to have those beat writers on the show regularly. Cole came on the show right after camp, and then he also joined us from his hotel room in New York during the road trip as well. And we had Brogan Houston on. When was Brogan on? Or
preseason. He was the guy. Actually, he was. Yeah, he was the guy who pretty much said Yamamoto's making the roster.
Yeah, he bet his left arm.
So
he bet his left arm on it. Yep. So 3-putt. Go back and check those out. We love those guys here, both Brogan and Bagley. We're big fans of them, friends of the show.
Yep. Well, any other last comments? I have one more I want to close the show with. If you guys don't,
I'm good here.
All right. Again, Clean Heads Hockey Podcast. Make sure you're giving us a follow, like, engage. Definitely helps us, helps build this community about arguably one of the most exciting teams in the league. Let's just be honest here. No bias. But I think the name of the game when we're playing Boston on Saturday is to get the penalties down, which means we need a little skull control, guys. Get your head straight. One of the best little garagey punk records from the mid-90s, Skull Control. Go check it out if you've never heard it.
And you're getting up to get.
Yeah. And I think
Are you gonna play it?
I don't have a record player in here.
Oh.
What a tease. Wow. All right. So when you're done checking out the Cole Bagley and Broken Houston episodes, go check out Skull Control on YouTube, but only after you've subscribed to Clean Hits. Yeah.
There you go. I'll post it on the YouTube or the Twitter account now. And
we need like 9 more followers on Instagram for my favorite shirt ever to be released. So tell your friends. Tell your mother and her neighbor.
Yep. I'm keeping my foot down. I am not putting this in the print. Oh, not that one. Sorry.
That one's sick too. Sorry for the wiener shot there, guys.
Kind of goes similar, though. The Gunther Costco return to the 36 chambers or return to the Utah Hockey Cup sniper section. ODB tribute shirt. We need 100 followers on Instagram, or this just doesn't get printed and nobody gets to wear it. So up to you guys. So give us a follow there as well to get that sweet shirt out in the world. We'll do some giveaways with that as well, especially once it's released. And hopefully we got a much better game on Saturday. I am a little concerned. This team does not play the Boston Bruins well. I think they've won twice since 2012 against them.
Yeah. Something
but
about Marchand.
home game, loudest rink in the circuit, a la Clayton Keller, and keep your skull in the game, keep the penalties down, and maybe we can come out with another win at home.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We like to have fun on these, and this is our first one, so bear with us.
Yep.
But we're gonna do more of these, and we'll have some fun on these late night ones.
Yep. Thanks for tuning into the Not So Clean Hits post-game show, and we'll catch you all tomorrow with the new podcast episode coming out, and we'll catch you later this week as well. Adios.
Good night, guys.
We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.